Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Week 13 Saturday preview on tap for us here. 6 games, just like last week. So, let's just dive right in. We got plenty to cover. Alright, so let's start this off. We got 3 games kicking off at 7 o'clock, 3 games kicking off at 8 o'clock. So we'll start with the earlier slate, work our way to the later slate, but let's start it off with a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. As always, on the Indoor Football League Network, we have the 4-5 Massachusetts Pirates taking on the 1-8 Iowa Barnstormers. And this has just always been a weird matchup. We'll explain it here in a minute, but let's talk about our season leaders first. For the passing side, Kenji Bahar, 121 of 202, 1,126 passing yards, 16 touchdowns to 8 picks. James Cahoon, 112 of 197, 1,225 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 picks. To the rushing side, Puka Williams, 119 carries, 496 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And your leading rusher for Iowa, James Cahoon, 20 carries for 41 yards. Yay. Receiving leaders, Thomas Owens, 26 catches, 312 yards, 8 touchdowns. And Kean Williams, 57 catches, 728 yards, 14 touchdowns. Well on his way to all IFL honors. Injury report. The only thing for either side, Monty Montgomery has been put on short-term injured reserve, and that's pretty much it for the Massachusetts Pirates. Iowa has had Hunter Clausen on there for quite a while now. Over to the game odds here, we have an over-under of 85.5 with the Pirates favored by 3.5 on the road. Your money line favors Massachusetts minus 155, so not a bad return if you want to bet that. If you want the home underdog, plus 3.5 for the Barnstormers and plus 130 when it comes to the money line straight up betting. Over to our game information. We are in beautiful, lovely Des Moines, Iowa in flyover country, which it's pretty cool. 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, as mentioned earlier, and our series head-to-head, what I mentioned in the beginning, Massachusetts leads this one 4-3, but Iowa winning their last meeting. This is the first time these two teams are meeting this season, all the way in week 13. You'll see that a little bit this year. 42-34. And this is a team that Iowa they win. And again, they have a losing record against them. I get it. But when they are at Iowa, they win. But when they go over to Massachusetts wins. Every home team has won. So could we see something weird? Who knows? We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's where we're at. This is such a weird matchup. It always has been. But let's go take a look at the players that are playing in this weird matchup. Our 25-man roster, our bet and prediction. We have 5 other previews after this. All right, so let's talk 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face. Starting with the away side first. Kenji Bahar going to be your starting quarterback from Massachusetts. Felix Harper your backup. To the wide receivers, Puka Williams and Tyan Evans. Evans just newly signed out of Louisville. For the wide receivers, Javon Tucker, Teo Redding, Stephen McBride, Thomas Owens, and Isaac Zico. Stephen McBride, we'll see if he suits up. He's been signed for the last couple of weeks, I believe. To the offensive line, Jordan McCray, Caleb Chandler, Navon Donaldson, and Dante Lucas. Another new signee, Caleb Chandler, again, out of Louisville. So we'll see if there's more, if he suits up at all, if they need any depth on that offensive line. To the defensive side, Jock Bristol, Guy Thomas, Mike Mason, DJ Dale, Terry Beckner, kind of your usual suspects. Linebacker, Marquise Waters. I put him at the linebacker position because Montgomery is on short-term injured reserve and they don't really have anyone necessarily filling that spot. Waters has done it for, the last month or more, so he's going to take that mantle. To the secondary, DJ Daniel, Teldrick Ross, Matt Elam, Smoke Monday, Marcus Floyd, and Ty Smith, with your kicker being Josh Gable. Over to the Iowa side of things, Grant Rohawk and James Cahoon being your quarterbacks. Cahoon going to be your starter. Rohawk, which I don't know if it's Rohawk or Rohach, either way. He's going to be your backup. Your wide receivers, Joe Nowden, Kean Williams, Jalen Bracey, Caleb Hood, Raheem Harvey, and Travis J. Offensive line, Devin Hayes is off of the exempt list, so he's going to help bolster that offensive line. Tyler Castaneda, Terrence McClain, Paul Fay, and Shamari Williams. To the defensive side of the ball, Patrick Godbolt, Joshua Ellison, Tyler Tate, and Jared Johnson for that defensive line. Linebackers, Kadri Jackson and Ja'Cory Johns. And in the secondary, Caleb Street, Gabe Amigatcher, Isaac Duffy, Jared Sod, and Cam Mitchell-Johnson, with your kicker being Gabriel Rui. And that are your 25-man rosters for the Massachusetts Pirates, 25-man rosters for the Iowa Barnstormers. Let's go take a look and dive a little bit deeper with a bet and prediction, kind of talk about this game a little bit more in depth, and we'll move on with our other previews. All right, so let's talk bet and prediction for this one. It's going to feel kind of like a cop-out for this, but minus 155 in favor of Massachusetts. They absolutely need to have this one. In my opinion, they do. You cannot drop to 4-6, and there have been some wacky games between these two teams. I get that. And there are times where Iowa has looked like an IFL national champion against Massachusetts, and there are times where Massachusetts has beaten Iowa. It just kind of depends on who the home team is, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, every single time the home team has won. So for this one, all points would probably go to Iowa being the home team, always kind of having that upper hand in that sense, but I'm going to buck the trend a little bit here. Like I said, there's just little to no room for error for the Pirates. You have to get to 5-5 in order to put any sort of pressure on the top 4 seeds in that East. If you want to try and claw back into it, you got to hope Jacksonville, Green Bay, Quad City, and Tulsa all have some sort of hiccups down the road. There's only, 6 weeks left or 6 games left for some teams. You got to be able to get in there, and then you got to start with this win. There's a reason why Iowa is 1-8 on the year, and that's not to say Iowa can't pull this upset. We know what Iowa is doing. We know exactly what they're doing, but Iowa's defense leaves a lot to be desired. And if you are Massachusetts and you can exploit that defense like plenty of other teams have done this season, there's a chance you can get out of here with the victory. For that, I think it all starts with Puka Williams opening up that running game and getting those defenders to try and clamp down, to pop passes over to Redding, to pop passes over to Owens or Zico or whoever they're going to have suit up for that. I think starting with that running game and getting that going is going to be very, very important in this one. On the flip side, Iowa doesn't run the ball. They don't. So it's going to be, can you stop the passing game? It's that simple. It's easier said than done, because we know Iowa, they will score points. They will try and do a fourth quarter comeback when the game is out of hand. It's just a no good, terrible, bad season for Iowa. It is. The best Iowa can do right now is 8-8. And that's really where we're at with it. The worst they can do is 1-15. So somewhere in there, I'm not really sure, but what can you say about Iowa? They're passing really well. They do get Hayes off the exempt list to hopefully bolster that offensive line. So maybe there's going to be a little bit less pressure on Cahoon, so he's got more time to throw it. But without a running back, without a viable option to really run the ball, except jet sweeps with your wide receivers and stuff, they're just not doing it at a clip that other teams who do not use a running back, like Bay Area, Tulsa, what have you, they're just not doing it at a good enough clip to warrant the praise that I probably put upon those teams compared to this one. For Massachusetts, I think it's literally simple. You stop the passing game, you win. It's been like that for Iowa practically all season. There's a reason why, again, they're 1-8. So I have minus 155. My prediction for this one, 49-46. I'm not going to put it past any sort of wackiness. Am I shocked if Iowa wins this? No, not one bit. But I'm more shocked if it is another blowout like has happened in the past. Iowa scoring 70-plus points. We'll see. But I do think Massachusetts has come on as of late. Hopefully they've gotten their ghosts taken care of from their West Coast trip from northern Arizona and Tucson. They've looked a little bit better as of late. And hopefully the little springboard effect of Jacksonville, beating Jacksonville, has propelled them to obviously another win with Fishers, and now here we are with Iowa. So maybe some wins against some lesser competition can propel Massachusetts forward. So that's where we have it for Iowa. Just got to salvage a season, play spoiler as much as you can, and again, get that passing game going as much as you can and stop whatever offense they throw at you. I get it. It's easier said than done, and it sucks if you're an Iowa fan. I do feel bad for you, but minus 155, 49-46 for our prediction. Let's go take a look at our second preview. All right, so second preview of the evening. We have a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. We have the 3-7 San Antonio Gunslingers taking on the 6-4 Tulsa Oilers. This is their third and final meeting of the year, with Tulsa taking the last two. The first two, I guess, and last two, either way. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but let's talk about our season leaders and go from there. Joaquin Collazo, 103 of 193, 1,227 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. TJ Edwards, 129 of 209, 1,219 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. For the rushing leaders, Keyshawn Harper, 58 carries, 188 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and TJ Edwards, 138 carries, 543 yards, and 22 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Naquan Murray, 42 catches, 572 yards, and 13 touchdowns, and then Cole Blackman, 27 receptions, 301 yards, 12 touchdowns. To the injury report for both sides, a couple of names added for San Antonio. Jalen Robinson going on season injured reserve. He looked really good last week until he eventually got hurt against Quad City, and I don't want to say that ruined San Antonio's attempt at an upset or a win, but certainly didn't help with him going down. He was kind of a catalyst for a couple of those touchdowns and things like that early on until he eventually got hurt. And then Carl Reynolds, new signee, he hasn't suited up for a game yet. He is put on short-term injured reserve. There have been some players taken off of short-term injured reserve. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. For Tulsa, just one addition, Katron Allen, has been added. They've had a couple of players, I believe, released as well. But Katron Allen, it's going to be a little bit of a blow to that defensive secondary. But again, we'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. Game odds over-under of 79.5. Minus 7.5. That's a big spread for the Tulsa Oilers. Plus 205 for the underdog if you want a straight money line. Plus 7.5 for San Antonio. And then the home favorite, minus 7.5 and minus 250 for Tulsa at home. Speaking of home, we're at the BOK Center in lovely, beautiful Tulsa, Oklahoma, 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. And our series head-to-head, as I mentioned off the top, 2-1 in favor of Tulsa. They've won the 2 meetings this season. Previous meeting, week 5, 45-31 in favor of the Oilers. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, bet and prediction. We'll move on with preview number 3. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first. Joaquin Collazo, Zach Reeder, your quarterbacks, with Collazo going to be your starter. Running back, Keyshawn Harper, and then over to the wide receivers, Glenn Gibbons, Callie Rashad, Austin Upshaw, Naquan Murray, and Logan Collier being your new signee at the wide receiver position. Offensive line, McQuail Harvey, Matthew Burrell, who is off of short-term injured reserve, Quan Stallworth, Joel Galvin, and LaColby Tucker. So a little bit of some depth there at the offensive line. Defensively, Austin Collier, Warren Thomas, Justin Sykes, and Jack Daly for that line. Linebackers, Hassan Black off of short-term injured reserve, and Ricky Wyatt rounding that out. And in the secondary, Riverius Rivers, Clifton Duck, Christoph Page, Kyle Myers, Mike Miller, and your kicker being Tyler Huddle. He's been your kicker for all but one game this season. Over to the other side. For Tulsa, TJ Edwards and Hassan Rogers for your quarterback, and here is a big shakeup. Martez Carter has been signed at the running back position. They did have him earlier this year. I believe he was on refuse to report. He was eventually released, and now he is signed. So now you have a true running back to take over. Hassan Rogers can move to the wide receiver position, whatever he needs to do. And they might need a little bit of depth there. Max Novak, Jerminic Smith, Josh Crockett off of short-term injured reserve, and Cole Blackman rounding out that wide receiving core. For the offensive line, Zach Brenner, Bryant Nolan off of short-term injured reserve, Gary Reynolds, Anthony Kennedy, and Tariq Stewart. To the defensive side, Jacarius Smith, Trey Smalls, Rashawn Williams, and former San Antonio gunslinger Ulrich Jones. So maybe a little bit of gamesmanship there, but hey, that bolsters that defensive line as well. To the linebackers, Dylan Petway, Trey Harvey. I've put him here as he's played linebacker for the last, few weeks, months, what have you, and Marquez Bembry. And in the secondary, Taylor Hawkins, Ryan Nixon, Sedarius Doss, Kentrell Pierce. Your kicker is Rio Ramirez. So, again, going through another kicker is Tulsa. They're just kind of cycling through like the same 3 or 4, but still. And that is your 25-man roster for San Antonio, your 25-man roster for Tulsa. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction as we move on. All right, so let's take a look at our bet and prediction for this one. I'm going to go over 79.5. Now, hear me out. I get it. At certain times, it did not look like San Antonio was scoring a lot of points this season, but for the most part, they were trying to be a running style team when they had Guy Myers coming in. Malik Henry wasn't really getting it done. Joaquin Collazo has, I wouldn't say turned the corner for San Antonio because they're still losing some games, but at the same time, what Collazo has been able to do is show that, hey, we can put points up on the board. They have scored 40 points. They've scored 50 points. Like, we know that San Antonio can score when they need to, and yeah, they only put up 37 against Quad City, but hey, that game went over when you consider what the point total is here. Tulsa, kind of the same thing. We know Tulsa can put up points. They've put up 45 against San Antonio earlier this season. They've put up 62 against Iowa. They've put up, and I'm looking at the schedule here, they've put up 56 against Iowa. And yes, there are some clunkers that they've had in their games against Quad City and what have you, but if you're adding the offensive firepower with Martez Carter, that could bode to the under, and I get that. They want to run the ball, but maybe that opens up Hassan Rogers to be more of a threat down the sidelines, that speedster going down the sidelines. And we know San Antonio is more likely to throw the ball than they are to run it. So this could be an old-fashioned shootout. You're asking both teams to kind of score 40 points or certain variants of it, 45 to 35, what have you, or if it's kind of a blowout. Like I said, you look at that Quad City San Antonio game where the game goes over 51 to 37. The over hits, but Quad City ran away with it late. So could it be another one of those scenarios? I'm not sure. We'll see. I know my gut is telling me to take the over or take the under. So I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian here, take the over with this one. I do think a lot of it does come down to, obviously, the defenses. It does. It comes down to, you bring in Ulrich Jones from San Antonio. He's been cut. He wants revenge, I guess. I don't know his thoughts, but there's that. You look at the defensive side and what they've kind of retooled for San Antonio, bringing Hassan Black off of short-term injured reserve. That defensive line is kind of short up. Jack Daly did look pretty good. I know he's been kind of a reserve with Bay Area, but he did look pretty good against Quad City, sacking Daquan Neal and really getting some pass rush going. Secondary, Clifton Duck is always kind of a ball hawk. Riverius Rivers trying to get back into the thick of things. And obviously the San Antonio's offense too. The wide receivers are always going to be capable of pulling out huge gains, huge touchdowns, what have you. And we just go from there. I'm hoping an old-fashioned shootout, kind of your predictable game here. My prediction for this one, 44 to 36. It's right at that over. Like I said, this one's close for me. This one's really, really close for me because I don't know what we're going to get. And you can say that for any game, I get that. But does Tulsa really lock down the running game now that they have a true running back? I'm not sure. And then for San Antonio, we know they're going to kind of stick with the pass. Do they sprinkle in the run a little bit? And how do they attack the running game that is Tulsa? So how do they go about that? And again, that's not to say Tulsa is going to really clamp down, because we know that they can just throw it over the top to Cole Blackman. We know that they can throw it to Jerminic Smith. We know that they can throw it to Hassan Rogers, and TJ Edwards can take off too. So with that, I do think both teams can score points, and that's where I have it with this one. I have an over 79.5, 44 to 36. Like I said, close, but I could see Tulsa maybe tacking on another touchdown. San Antonio could keep it close as well. Just not ready to pull that trigger on that spread. The money line is just a little too thick for me. So that's where we have it for this one. Let's go take a look at our third preview. All right, third preview for the 7:05 kickoff times. And this one, two teams going in different directions. 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. The 2-8 Fishers Freight against the 8-2 Quad City Steamwheelers. Oh, buddy, this should be fun. And if Fishers, the last time they played, if it's anything like the last time they played, this could be a fun game. They're two completely different teams, though. For our season leaders, Carlos Davis, 25 of 46, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Daquan Neal, 77 of 137, 900 yards even, 23 touchdowns, 4 picks. Shane Simpson, 61 carries, 204 yards, 8 touchdowns. And Daquan Neal, 74 carries, 339 yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground. Receiving leaders JT Stokes, 23 catches, 250 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Jordan Vesey, 19 carries, 284 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Taking a look at the injury report, just a couple of additions for both sides. Jordan Kress is on the season injured reserve list, along with Shavers Smith, which is kind of weird because Smith was taken off of the short-term injured reserve just to be put on season injured reserve. So those are 2 huge blows to the wide receiving core for Fishers. And we'll see how much they've been using the wide receivers a little bit more, but we'll see how that impacts it. Over to the Quad City side of things, CJ Parrish put on short-term injured reserve, so a little bit of a hit when it comes to that secondary. Taking a look at our game odds, we have an over-under of 81.5 and a minus 13.5 for Quad City at home. Shows you what Vegas thinks of Fishers right now, or what they think of Quad City. I'll be honest, if you're going to turn the tables on that. Plus 350 if you're thinking an upset in terms of Fishers going on the road here and pulling the upset. And then minus 455 for Quad City. Not a huge return unless you're betting a lot of money and you're that confident in the Steamwheelers taking a victory. We're at Vibrant Arena at the Mark, and a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff in Moline, Illinois. And our head-to-head features Quad City taking a 1-0 lead. They won in overtime, 55-48, and that was a doozy of a game. Quad City scoring first, and then scoring first in overtime, and then Fishers just not being able to score that touchdown. I think they fumbled, and Quad City recovered. There was a 4th down, and they ended up recovering regardless. My memory's hazy with that one, but hey, Quad City gets the win, so I'm happy about that. But let's go take a look. These are 2 different teams from that point. Let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction. We move on. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters, and I guess I should clarify that this kind of changes for one team, mainly. The other team, Quad City, is kind of stuck around. They've had a couple of changes, but Fishers has changed quite a bit since their last meeting. So let's take a look at it. Rosters over the face, and we start with the away side first. Carlos Davis and Julian Walker, 2 quarterbacks that weren't even on the roster the last time these 2 teams played. Carlos Davis, most likely your starter. Julian Walker just signed as of a couple days ago. Shane Simpson, your running back, and Dominic Roberto, the former Massachusetts Pirate, has been signed over here. Wide receivers JT Stokes, Isaiah Cox, and Jared McGaw. Not a lot of depth at that wide receiver position. So we'll see Roberto or Shane Simpson probably going out wide, or they're only running 3 wide receivers. We'll see how that goes. Not a lot of depth. Offensive line, AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, Jatarius Spivey, Jeremy Cooper, and Darius Long. On the defensive side of things, Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, Akeem Smith. On the defensive line, we'll see if Darius Long goes over to the defensive line. He's played there a little bit. Linebackers, Cam Hunt and Tamar Hart. Last couple of games, or last few games, Cam Hunt has kind of dropped back into that secondary position, so to kind of help out over there, with Hart being your linebacker. And in the secondary, Sean Steele, Aaron Jackson, Jaden Rowe, Justin Terry, and Justice King. Justin Terry coming over from Vegas. So 2 former guys, Roberto and Terry, coming over from previous teams. Your kicker is Callum Sutherland. Moving over to the Quad City side of things, Daquan Neal and Seth Morgan for the quarterbacks. Neal going to be your starter, Morgan your backup. Jared Ware, your running back. Tyler King, former Jacksonville Shark, coming over to help out in the running game. Wide receivers, Daquan Dudley, Tamarian Terry, Deion McShane, Kevon Rudd, and Jordan Vesey. So a little bit of depth there at the wide receiver spot. Offensive line, Joel Crowell, Christoph Atkinson, Ivory Scott, and Tyrone Chambers. Defensive line, Kadir Shepard, David Cagle, Keyshawn Moore, Chimadunga. Linebackers, Bubba Arslanian and Brian Lee. And in the secondary for Quad City, Trey Smith, Chris Chukwuemeka, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, and Cameron Harrell. We'll see if Duncan gets into it. I don't think he made the trip to San Antonio, but they did just fine without him. So we'll see if he gets back into the thick of things or if they go through it. Kicker is Kyle Kaplan. That's your 25-man roster for Fishers, your 25-man roster for Quad City. Let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction as we just keep chugging along with these previews. All right, bet and prediction time here for this one. I have over 81.5 garbage time touchdowns. That's what I'm hoping for in this one. Not necessarily, but I do think this one could be kind of a blowout. kind of a blowout in this one. It's just kind of been the norm for Fishers. They have played some close games, don't get me wrong here, but they are just not trending in the right direction. What more can you say about Fishers that hasn't already been said? Quad City's looking good, man. The players that they've brought in or brought back from injury, or the players that they've signed from Terry to Daquan Dudley, the defense looks really rock solid. This is something that Quad City can take advantage of. Fishers is a team in transition. They started out 2-0, very power running, very, very power running, where they're like, we're going to run it like 40, 50 times a game and maybe throw it 5 to 10. Now it seems like they're trying to stabilize it out to be like, hey, we're going to throw it 20 to 30 times a game, or give or take, and we're going to try and run it the same amount. And with that is coming a lot of roster turnover. The defense still looks all right. They haven't really changed their offensive line at all, so they've had the same starters with that. It just comes down to, do you have the right amount of talent at the skill positions to put up those points? They are very thin. Taking a look at that 25-man roster, they only have 3 wide receivers. Injuries, man, and that's the big thing. I'm not wishing any injuries or anything like that, but if anyone needs a breather, if anyone is gassed, that is an opportunity for Quad City to take over. That is an opportunity for the Steamwheelers to really get after Carlos Davis, and we'll see how that goes. But overall, the offensive line should be all right for Fishers. It's just I'm worried about those skill positions. JT Stokes, he has been a stalwart there. Isaiah Cox has been as well at the wide receiver spot, but they just signed Jared McGaw, former Steamwheeler, just a couple weeks ago. Very raw. Another week to get the playbook under your belt, and they do bring in Dominic Roberto, but I don't know. There's a reason why the spread is so big when it comes to Vegas with minus 13.5. I just think Quad City's gonna steamwheel them, whatever you want to say. My prediction for this one, 56-34. I just don't think it's close, man. And we hit the over. We do. We get 90 points here. And I think a lot of it comes with garbage time touchdowns, whether it comes from one side or the other. I do think Quad City will put up some points in the third and fourth if they're just running the ball. This could be a game where Seth Morgan gets into the game because Daquan Neal and company have got out to a big enough lead. That defense for Quad City too, man. Like I said, they're very rock solid. They're one of the best in the league. I'm not saying they're the best, but they are up there. And I know we're playing a 2-8 team. Quad City's played some teams that leave a little bit to be desired, but at the same time, I do think that this game does go over for the sake of just some garbage time touchdowns. People, playing out the rest of the game, and they're just putting up points. So that's where we have it. Over 81.5, 56-34 in favor of Quad City. Let's go take a look at our 4th of 6 previews. All right, so let's take a look at our 8:05 p.m. kickoffs. We got 3 here, as we got some staggered starts for the first half and second half. But 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. We have the 3-6 Tucson Sugar Skulls taking on the 7-3 Arizona Rattlers. This was a fun game the last time these two teams met. I screw that saying up every time. The last time these two teams met, this was a very, very fun game with Tucson getting the victory. We'll take a look at that in a second. But first, let's take a look at our season leaders. Jorge Reyna, 82 of 145, 941 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks. Dalton Sneed, your leading passer for Arizona, 151 of 255, 1,697 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Rushing leaders, Jorge Reyna, 51 carries, 234 yards, 5 touchdowns. And Ron Brown, 67 carries, 355 yards, 12 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Larry Harrington, 32, 329 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And Isaiah Houston, 46 catches, 605 yards, 10 touchdowns. You can make the claim that both these teams are the most recently injured, or the most injured recently. 3 guys for Tucson: Braden Oakley, Taylor Upshaw, Joshua Clark, all hitting the short-term injured reserve list. And for Arizona, Mikel Calhoun, who, let's be honest, this dude's been injured quite a bit in the last couple of years between Vegas and Arizona. He hits the short-term injured reserve, and so does Jordan Parker. Going over to the game odds for this game, we have an over-under of 90.5, with Arizona favored by 11.5. So a big spread in this one, plus 295 to the money line for Tucson. If you want a good payout, just betting them straight up. or minus 375 for Arizona at home. They are 5-0 at home, so an opportunity to continue being perfect in your home venue. Speaking of which, we are at the Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona, 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, with our series head-to-head being 11-3 in favor of the Rattlers. But the last time these two teams met, got it right there, Tucson getting the victory, 42-35, which again, a little bit of a misleading score there because it was a kickoff lateral thing that gave Tucson their final touchdown. It still says 42-35, but 36-35 until that touchdown with kind of a game-winning field goal by Kevin Macias. So with that, regardless, the win is still a win. Let's go take a look at the rosters that are compiled this game, and we will go on with our bet and prediction after that. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first, as we do. Larry Harrington, Trip Harrington, and Jorge Reyna being your quarterbacks, but Harrington will probably drop back into his normal wide receiver running back style position. Running backs Devontae Sapp Lynch and Jameis Williams. And then in the wide receivers, re-signed Brian Smith, Jerome Buckner, Drew Dixon, and Alfonso Taylor. Smith is in action for Tucson and Arizona, so maybe a little bit of gamesmanship there. Offensive line, Krikor Kustadian, Cody Bolig, Q Baker, Dallas Reigns, and Naimonta Decor. On the defensive side of the ball, John McMullen, Dan Totley, Trey Henry, Deshaun Mallory, and DeJymin Brooks. John McMullen is off of short-term injury reserve, and Deshaun Mallory is a new signee when it comes to that defensive line. New linebacker as well, Trinilius Tatum, I believe is how it's pronounced, out of Georgia Tech. We'll see how he does at that linebacker spot. And in the secondary, no changes. Tariq Bracy, Brian Murray, Jalen Perkins, Ahmad Lyons, and Kendricks Gladney. Your kicker is Kevin Macias. On the offensive side of the ball for Arizona, Dalton Sneed and Ivy Magalai for the quarterback spot. Sneed will be your starting quarterback. New signee Marquez Cooper and Ron Brown for the running back spots, with Shannon Brooks going on short-term injury reserve. Wide receivers Jamal Miles, Johannes Tyler is back off a short-term injured reserve stint. Isaiah Houston, Corey Reed Jr., and Trey Dixon. So pretty much Tyler's taking Jordan Parker's spot. Offensive line, Bryson Mays, Christopher Strotter, Cordell Brewster, and Lamar Mady. On the defensive side of the ball, Kevin Sims, Isaiah Coe, James Nimwaya, and Jalen Bass. With Mikel Calhoun on injured reserve, out comes Jalen Campbell, so he takes that spot as he comes off of his short-term injured reserve stint. And in the secondary, nothing to report here. Devontae Merriweather, Deontay Overstreet, Rashi Hodge, Joe Asoe, Omari Alexander, and Ethan Castleberry, with your kicker being Dawson Evans. So that is your 25-man roster for Tucson, 25-man roster for Arizona. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, and we will move on. All right, bet and prediction time, and for this one, I'm going to take under 90.5. The reason why I'm taking under 90.5, I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. The reason why, obviously, the spread is 11.5, and the first meeting that these two teams had, it was a blowout. It was 56-28. But when you look at that, that's 84 points, which still hits the under in this one, and it was a complete blowout. Now, first game of the season, jitters, everything like that, quarterbacks, new offensive schemes, defensive schemes, players, what have you. I get that. The last time these two teams met, 42-35, which still hits that under threshold. Arizona can put up points. They can. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, for God's sakes, it was 48-54 against Jacksonville. That hits the over. The game before that at Vegas, it was, 89? Yeah, 52-37. Just hits the under. There are some games where Arizona hits the over. They hit it pretty regularly. But now you're playing Tucson. Can the defense be better for Tucson? Can they slow down Arizona? Can they get muddy and murky like they have in the past, in their past meeting at least? We'll see. And even if it is a blowout, we're my God, I'm putting the third Arizona team in there, where Arizona goes north of 40 points. So I was trying to say, is it enough to hit that under? I think so. I do. Both these teams can be kind of stingy at defense at times. I mean, Tucson's defense has come on at certain points and kind of laid the smackdown. Arizona's defense has done the same. Arizona did not look right the last time these teams met. They just were not good on third and fourth down. and Tucson kind of exploited that. I do not see that happening here. So my prediction for this one, I've got a 50-35 in favor of Arizona. That's kind of a blowout, man. That's what, a 15-point victory? Could be a little bit more than that, but that still gives us a little bit of wiggle room for another field goal or things along those lines. It's kind of like the very first time when I picked an under in the first week of the season, and it was like a late touchdown that sent it over. Now what can you do? So I'm picking the under in this one more time. Kind of go from there. But I do think with what Arizona has offensively, they can put up points. Can Arizona's defense stop Tucson's offense? We'll see. Like I said, there are a couple of weapons added for Tucson. Kind of see how it goes back and forth here. But I think the defenses kind of step up in this one. Could be a little lower scoring in the first half or so until we kind of get into the thick of things. We'll see how it goes. But that's kind of where I have it. I don't really have a full-blown, well, this team's the fourth best offense and this team's the third best defense. I pick this stuff based on vibes. I cannot trust the IFL stats when they're still putting players that have not played for weeks in the stat sheet. So it's kind of hard to judge when it comes to some of these IFL stats. But under 90.5, 50-35, I do think Arizona takes care of business. Again, there's a reason why that spread is so large. We'll just kind of go from there. They stay perfect at home, and we just kind of motor on from that. But let's go take a look at our fifth preview as we just keep chugging along with all of them. All right, preview number 5 out of 6. 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. The 6-4 San Diego Strike Force taking on the 1-9 Northern Arizona Wranglers. These teams just met a couple weeks ago, and it was a pretty fun game, all things considered. But let's take a look at our season leaders. For the Strike Force, Nate Davis, 138 of 224, 1,422 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Ramon Atkins, 71 of 121, 706 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks. Edward Vander, your leading rusher, 69 carries, 298 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Ramon Atkins, 27 carries, 155 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Dallas Daniels, 32 catches, 336 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And Deshaun Stoudemire, 45 receptions, 530 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Taking a look at the injury report, Draco Statham is added to the short-term injury reserve for San Diego. Other than that, not really much to report for the Strike Force. And Northern Arizona does get Devin Thomas off of short-term injury reserve. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. Looking over at our game odds, in this one we have an over-under of 80.5 with -8.5 in favor of San Diego on the road. So Vegas expecting a pretty good victory in favor of the Strike Force, -265 on that money line, and +215 if you want a home upset straight up for the Wranglers, or +8.5 if you think they can cover the spread. Information here, we are at the Findlay Toyota Center in Prescott Valley, Arizona, with an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Our series head-to-head, we are tied at 4, and like I mentioned, these two teams just met a couple weeks ago. San Diego pulling out the victory, 35-32, in a nice little back-and-forth affair. So with that, we should be in for another doozy. With this one, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, our bet and predictions, and we got one more preview to go after this. All right, so 25-man rosters popping up over my face. Let's take a look at the away side with San Diego first. Starting quarterback Nate Davis, Rudy Johnson being your backup quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and anything and everything else. Probably less of a running back because Edward Vander is taking kind of the mantle with that, and they do get Trayvon Van back from short-term injured reserve. Wide receivers Dallas Daniel, Jalen Sample, John Maldonado, and Javian Lofton-Wilson. With your offensive line being Christian Olmstead, Jalen Booth, Josh Castro, and Jake Sines. On the defensive side of the ball, Wallace Cowens, Jaquez Mabin, Afanye Maye, Karat Garland, and Jackson Cravens for that defensive line. Linebacker position is Royce C. And in the secondary, Devin Hafford, Tariq Lewis, Eugene Ford, Atoa Fox, Elijah Reed, and Cyrus Fagan being a new signee, which makes a little bit of sense as Rod Miller, the former Massachusetts Pirates coach, Devin Hafford, Cyrus Fagan, Eugene Ford. I mean, you're bringing some Pirates over here, so it kind of makes some sense here. Kicker is Ernesto Lacayo. And then over for the Northern Arizona side, Caleb Lowe and Ramon Atkins for your quarterbacks, with Atkins being your starter. We'll see who starts at the running back position. They've kind of cycled through either Nolan Susel or Marvin Kinsey. Wide receivers Deshaun Stoudemire, Gary Brown, Arlen Bruce IV, Marlon Cook, and Kobe Smith. Your offensive line, Junior Tuatasi, Chris Simon, DJ Stuckey, and Ryan Atkins. Defensive line, Chizzy Umanakwe, Darius Johnson, Karan Bolden, Devin Thomas, and Mason Newton. For the linebackers, Travaris Farrell and Kalen Hicks. Whoever isn't that starting linebacker will drop back into the secondary with Bakembe Carney, Kieran Page, Malik Saunier, and Edward McClendon, with your kicker being Michael Hall. And that is your 25-man roster for the San Diego Strike Force. That is your 25-man roster for the Northern Arizona Wranglers. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction and dive a little bit deeper into this game. See what we got going on. All right, so bet and prediction time. And for me, I am going to go ahead and take plus 8.5 for Northern Arizona. I think this game can be close, just like the last time these two teams played. Ramon Atkins has kind of proven himself to be a pretty good quarterback for Northern Arizona. They're not getting the wins, and yes, they did get blown out against Vegas last week, but when you consider a 3-point loss to San Diego the week before that, a 7-point loss to Arizona, and then they beat Massachusetts. So if you take that away, their last 3 games, they've covered the spread or won outright. And yes, even against Vegas earlier in the year, they did kind of cover that spread too with 6. So when you consider this bet with kind of their other games, yes, there have been some blowouts. Yes, it has not looked pretty, including the 40-29 loss to San Diego. San Diego has lost, San Diego has won the previous 2 meetings between these two this season. I'm not saying Northern Arizona is going to win, but they can cover. The over could be in play in this one too. I do think San Diego can put up points. I do think Northern Arizona can put up points, as both these defenses are a little suspect. But for the most part, I'm going to try and trust my gut a little bit on this one and go plus 8.5 in favor of Northern Arizona. I believe in the last couple of games these two teams have played, it's been weird with the quarterback positions. You've had Caleb Lowe getting knocked out with CJ Fowler having to come in. And then in the previous game, it was Rudy Johnson being kind of that running quarterback that didn't really throw it too much, which kind of led to a lower score. That's the reason I'm kind of hesitant on the over-under on this one. I do not know how the defense is going to handle Nate Davis when it comes to all of that offensive firepower. They're kind of getting back into the swing of things. They are 6-4. They are in a playoff spot, and San Diego does need this victory in order to really just cement themselves further and further into a playoff position. Northern Arizona is kind of in the same spot Iowa is in right now. There's no way they're making the playoffs. I don't think they're mathematically eliminated just yet, but they can pretty much play spoiler from here on out and ruin some other teams' chances. What a better time now than beating San Diego. So, I don't know. My prediction for this one, I still have San Diego winning it. I got 42-38. I do think it is close, but oh God, it's tough. It's tough to get a gauge because sometimes Northern Arizona looks really good and they're just not pulling out the victories. Sometimes San Diego looks pretty good. Sometimes they do not. There's a reason why they're 6-4, man. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I do think Ramon Atkins and company can throw the ball on this. I do think they can run it. Curious to see who the running back's going to be. Susel has run really well. Marvin Kinsey looked pretty good last week. Yes, it was a blowout, but Kinsey still did look pretty good when it came to the running game for Northern Arizona, even though they didn't run the ball too much. They had to play from behind. But all things considered, the running game maybe getting going a little bit for San Diego. You got Vander and Van in there. We'll see if only one suits up or if they get both of them in there and how they kind of attack that. It should still be more of your Nate Davis passing the ball 30 times a game, what have you. Defensively, new signees for San Diego with Cyrus Fagan, but that does, breed a lot of camaraderie with Fagan, Hafford, and I'm blanking on the other guy. I know this is great. Eugene Ford, my God. Anyway, those 3 guys, former Pirates, all kind of know their tendencies and stuff like that. It would be kind of cool to see that. And then, again, you still get Elijah Reed, Natoa Fox, Tariq Lewis, who had pick 6. So you go from there. On the other side, defensively, can they stop the passing game? You kind of thin when it comes to the secondary. Carney, Page, Saunier. Now, Page can intercept the ball. Kalen Hicks, Travaris Farrell in that linebacker spot as well. If they can get pressure on Davis, we know he can move the pocket. He's not necessarily mobile, but he can move the pocket. But Regardless, it's just a weird game to me because both these games have been kind of weird when it comes to that quarterback's position. But I got 42-38 in this one, plus 8.5 in favor of Northern Arizona covering the spread, not winning outright. San Diego takes all three this season as they move to 7-4. So with that, we got one preview left to do. Let's go tackle that and we'll get out of here. All right, final preview of the evening. We have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. The 7-2 Bay Area Panthers taking on the 6-4 Vegas Nighthawks. This might be game of the week. This might be game of the week. In fact, I'll say it right now, this is game of the week. This should be a very fun game as both teams are jockeying for not just playoff position in the seedings, but really just to make the playoffs. Bay Area is the best team in the West. Vegas trying to break away from that 3rd and 4th seeds and jump themselves further into a home playoff game. Taking a look at our season leaders, Josh Jones, 112 of 180, 1,240 yards, 23 touchdowns and 7 picks. Jerome Johnson, which he might not be the starter right now, but Jerome Johnson is your leading passer. 73 of 130, 926 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Rushing leaders, same guys. Josh Jones, 95 carries, 377 yards, 11 touchdowns, and Jerome Johnson, 70 carries, 369 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Josh Tomas, 31 catches, 371 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Quentin Randolph for Vegas, 42 catches, 605 yards, 12 touchdowns. Taking a look at the injury report, nothing for Vegas and only one addition for Bay Area. Damon Williams added to the short-term injured reserve list, but quite a few guys on season injured reserve for Bay Area, and really just a couple of guys added as of last week as well, so they got to stay on the short-term injured reserve list for this week as well, and then they might come off. We'll see. Game odds here, over 87.5 and minus 2.5 for Bay Area. On the road, minus 142 on the money line, plus 2.5 for Vegas, and minus 120, plus 120 if you want the Nighthawks at home, straight up with an upset, quote unquote, I guess. It's hard to say home upset. I guess they're not favored, but still. We are in the Lee's Family Forum in Henderson, Nevada with an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff as stated earlier, and our series head-to-head is tied at 3. And believe it or not, this is the first time these two teams have met this season, in their last meeting, Week 16 of 2024, with Bay Area winning 37-35. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction. We'll get out of here. All right, let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face. Starting with the away side first, Josh Jones and Liam Thompson, your quarterbacks. Josh Jones is going to be your starter, Thompson your backup. Wide receivers, Josh Tomas, Tosin Oyakonmi, B.K. Smith Jr., Trayvon Alexander, with new signees Trey Goodman and DJ Myers. That's right, the former gunslinger coming over to Bay Area to bolster that wide receiving core. Your offensive line, Christian Coulter, Sidney Walker, Jamie Navarro, and Devin Salter. And on the defensive side of the ball for Bay Area, Tavon Grant, Jonathan Ross, Morris Joseph Jr., and EJ Anai. Linebackers, BJ Tofalele and Wes Bowers. And in the secondary, Trey Meadows, Tyler Watson, Joe Fouché, Frankie West, Landry Mavungu, Tyrese Wright. Your kicker is Axel Perez. Over to the Vegas side of things. Jerome Johnson and Jaden Delora are your quarterbacks. I'm just going to say it right now, I think Delora is going to get the start in this one, Johnson being the backup. Antonio Wimbush is your running back. And to the wide receivers, Mike Kerrigan, Quentin Randolph, CJ Wyndham, Jonathan Johnson, CJ Jefferson, and Phoenix Sproles. Offensive line, Desmond Bland, Zach Fortier, Kevin Toot, and Moses Mallory. To the defensive line, Maurice Jackson, Claude Davis, Lorenzo Hernandez, and Mayan Ahanatu. Linebackers, Jamal Williams and Cameron Bright. And in the secondary, Bryce Hampton, Trevon Jones, James Caesar, Rome Weber, Darius Williams, Elijah Blades, with your kicker being Ben Derby. So there have been some changes for both sides. Not a lot, but for the most part, it's kind of just the same 25 for both. Minor changes here and there. So with that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, and we'll move on. All right, so let's take a look at our bet and prediction for this one. Minus 2.5 for Bay Area. Now, this all signs for me kind of point towards Vegas taking the victory in this one. They need this to supplant themselves further into the playoff position. Bay Area doesn't want to give anything up. Bay Area has looked very, very good, just sneakily underrated, it seems at times. Not just this season, but last season as well. Minus 2.5 for this, I think, with the addition of DJ Myers. And I think just I wouldn't say the uncertainty at quarterback, but being able to focus on Jaden Delora can help motivate Bay Area's defense here. We'll see how it goes. For Vegas to pull this upset, they need to play really well. And we know Delora can take care of the football. We know the wide receivers, Quentin Randolph obviously is very good, Wimbush as well. This is a close game. This is a close game. There's a reason why the spread is -2.5. But Bay Area has not played a lot of close games. Their losses have been losses, but their wins have been big wins. They have not had a lot of close wins in these games, and especially not by 2.5. I think the closest one was last week when they won by 3. So you can kind of consider that, but for the most part, it has been -2.5 or more when it comes to Vegas taking the victories here. Or excuse me, when it comes to Bay Area taking the victories. Vegas, like I said, there's an opportunity for them to really kind of say, hey, we've had some slip-ups. Here's an opportunity for us to go out and say, hey, we're going to win this game. They've already beaten Arizona this season. Yes, they've lost to Arizona this season, but they've beaten Arizona this season. This could be another victory for them to kind of put a notch in their belt saying, hey, we can take on playoff caliber teams. We can win these games. We can do exactly what we need to do as we strengthen our resume when it comes to the playoff push and ultimately a chance for a home playoff game or two if they are able to get so lucky as to get the first seed. However, I think Bay Area is just more capable, man. I'm not trying to discredit Vegas in this. Just the way that they played against Tulsa, the way that they have played against certain teams. You take out one of those losses being the very first game against San Antonio, and other than that, they've had one loss the rest of the way. So with that, I just think it's -2.5. My prediction for this one, 48-41 in favor of the Panthers. It's a close game. I do think they take it by a touchdown, just a mistake here or there when it comes to Vegas, maybe a turnover on downs or something late that Bay Area is able to capitalize on. And that's just kind of where we have it. I think Bay Area, Josh Jones and company, bringing in DJ Myers, that's just going to kind of set the tone here. That gives you another weapon to throw the ball to, opens up the ability for Josh Tomas to run the ball, or if they're going to do a jet sweep with Tosinoi Economy, kind of go from there. But overall, that's just kind of where I see it. -2.5 for Bay Area and 48-41 in favor of the Panthers. So with that, let's go wrap everything up and get out of here. And that is it for our Saturday slate of games. I'm going to make this short and sweet. Love and appreciate every single one of you for taking the time to watch this video. It truly means a lot. It's a lot of time and effort and recording and doing all that stuff, editing. So to watch these videos, it truly, truly means a lot. From the bottom of my heart, I love you. I know I say that, and it's going to be a really quick, wrap up with everything, but it truly does mean a lot. Taking the time to watch even just one preview or even a segment, whether it's the betting segments or the rosters or whatever, it means a lot. So I do appreciate every one of you that takes the time to watch this. If you get to this point, at least, it means you've either just really like outros to videos or you've watched the whole thing, I guess. But anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. Again, love and appreciate every single one of you. If you want to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you don't, whatever. But with that, I'm going to take off here, guys. Got to edit, get everything out before the games kick off, and have you guys have the opportunity to watch it. So with that, taking off here, guys. Love you. See you.